Hello, Alva. We have today's daily Bible bite. We're reading through the book of Exodus, and we're in chapter 36. And here's what it says about that and that. You have this, chapter 36 of Exodus, and 37, and Matthew chapter 24 today. Chapter 36 of Exodus. Bezalel and Oholiab, and every craftsman in whom the Lord had put skill and intelligence to know how to do any work in the construction of the sanctuary, shall work in accordance with all that the Lord has commanded. God told Moses. And Moses called Bezalel and Oholiab, and every craftsman in whose mind the Lord had put skill, everyone whose heart stirred him up to come and to do the work. And they received from Moses all the contribution of the people of Israel that they had brought in for doing the work on the sanctuary. And they still kept bringing him free will offerings every morning, so that the craftsmen who were doing every work, every sort of task on the sanctuary, came, each from the task that he was doing, and said to Moses, "The people are bringing much more than enough for doing the work that the Lord has commanded us to do." So Moses gave the command, and word was proclaimed throughout the camp, let no man or woman do anything more for the contribution to the sanctuary. So the people were restrained from bringing, for the material they had was sufficient to do all the work and more. Isn't that a wonderful story? Isn't that a wonderful state? People totally committed and the work moving forward. All the craftsmen among the workmen made the tabernacle with 10 curtains, and they were made of fine twined linen and blue and purple and scarlet yarns with cherubim skillfully worked. The length of each curtain was 28 cubits, and do you know a cubit is 18 inches? Now you do. And the breadth of each curtain 4 cubits, and all the curtains were the same size. Cubits 45 centimeters if you prefer metric, okay? So curtains done. He coupled 5 curtains to one another, and the other 5 curtains he coupled to one another, and he made loops of blue on the edge of the outermost curtain of the first set, and likewise he made them on the edge of the outermost curtain of the second set, and he made 50 loops on the one curtain, and he made 50 loops on the edge of the curtain that was on the second set, and the loops were opposite one another, and he made 50 clasps of gold and coupled the curtains together with clasps. So the tabernacle was a single whole. He made the curtains of goat's hair for a tent over the tabernacle. He made 11 curtains, and the length of each curtain was 30 cubits, and the breadth of each curtain was 4 cubits. And the 11 curtains were the same size, and he coupled 5 curtains by themselves and 6 curtains by themselves, and he made 50 loops on the edge of the outermost on one side, and 50 loops on the edge of the other connecting curtain, and he made 50 clasps of bronze to couple the tent together, that it might be a single whole, and he made for the tent a covering of tanned ram skins and goat skins. How about that? Then he made upright frames for the tabernacle of acacia wood. 10 cubits was the length of a frame, and the cubit and a half the breadth of each frame, and each frame had 2 tenons for fitting together. And he did this for all the frames of the tabernacle. The frames for the tabernacle he made in this way: 20 frames for the south side, and he made 40 bases of silver under the 20 frames, 2 bases under one frame for its 2 tenons, and 2 bases under the next frame for its 2 tenons. And for the second side of the tabernacle, on the north side, he made 20 frames, and there are 40 bases of silver, and 2 bases under one frame, and 2 bases under the next frame. For the rear of the tabernacle, westward, he made 6 frames. He made 2 frames for the corners of the tabernacle in the rear, and they were separate beneath, but joined at the top at the first ring. He made 2 of them this way for the 2 corners, and there were 8 frames with their bases of silver, 16 bases under every frame, 2 bases. And he made bars of acacia wood, 5 for the frames of the one side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars frames for the other side of the tabernacle, and 5 bars for the frames of the tabernacle at the rear westward. And he made the middle bar to run from end to end halfway up the frames. And he overlaid the frames with gold. And he made their rings of gold for holders for the bars, and overlaid the bars with gold. And he made the veil of blue and purple and scarlet yarns and fine twinned linen, and with cherubim skillfully worked into it he made it. And for it he made 4 pillars of acacia, and overlaid them with gold, and their hooks were of gold. And he cast for them 4 bases of silver. And he also made a screen for the entrance of the tent of blue and purple and scarlet yarns and fine twinned linen, embroidered with needlework, and 5 pillars with their hooks. He overlaid their capitals, and their fillets were of gold, but their 5 bases were of bronze. Man, I'm sure that we heard all about this already, haven't we? In other chapters, and it just reiterates it, and so specifically and so exactly. I wonder if any of you who are builders or joiners could see how these pieces would go together. I feel like I just went down a list of construction items. Here's chapter 37, and it says this about the making of the ark, which honestly we've heard about. Bezalel made the ark of acacia wood, 2 cubits, and half was its length, and a cubit and a half was its breadth, and a cubit and a half was its height. So it's kind of rectangly box, right? And he overlaid it with pure gold inside and outside, and made a molding of gold around it, and he cast on it 4 rings for its 4 feet made of gold, and 2 rings on its one side and 2 rings on its other side. And he made poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold, and put the poles into the rings of the side to carry the ark. And he made a mercy seat of gold, 2 cubits and a half was its length, and a cubit and a half was its breadth. And he made 2 cherubim of gold, right? And he made them of hammered work on the 2 ends of the mercy seat, 1 cherubim on one end and 1 on the other end, and of 1 piece with the mercy seat. And he made the cherubim on its 2 ends. And the cherubim spread out their wings above, overshadowing the mercy seat, with their wings, with their faces to one another. Toward the mercy seat were the faces of the cherubim. That's the ark in chapter 37 of Exodus. Making the table, table of showbread. He also made the table of acacia wood. 2 cubits was its length, and a cubit its breadth, and a cubit and a half its height. And he overlaid it with pure gold, and made a molding of gold around it. And he made a rim around it with a handbreadth wide, and made a molding of gold around the rim. And he cast for it 4 rings of gold, and fastened the rings to the 4 corners of the legs, and close to the frame were the rings, as the holders for the poles to carry the table. He made the poles of acacia wood to carry the table, and overlaid them with gold. And he made the vessels of pure gold that were to be on the table, its plates and its dishes for incense, and its bowls and flagons for which to pour drink offerings. That's the table. The making of the lampstand. He also made the lampstand of pure gold. He made the lampstand of hammered work. Its base, its stem, its cups, its calyxes, its flowers were all of 1 piece with it. And there were 6 branches going out of its sides, 3 on one side, and 3 coming out of the lampstand on the other side. 3 cups made like almond blossoms, each with calyx and flower on 1 branch. And 3 cups made like almond blossoms, each with calyx and flower on the other branch. So for the 6 branches coming out of the lampstand, and on the lampstand itself, were 4 cups made like almond blossoms with their calyxes and flowers, and a calyx of 1 piece with it under each pair of the 6 branches going out of it, and their calyxes and their branches were 1 piece with it. The whole of it was a single piece of hammered work of pure gold, and he made its 7 lamps and its tongs and its trays of pure gold, and he made it all, and all its utensils, out of 1 talent of pure gold. So how much is a talent? 75 pounds or 34 kilograms. Now you know. Hammered it all out. Then making the altar of incense. So as we close chapter 37, what a lungful this chapter has been. He made the altar of incense of acacia wood. Its length was a cubit, and its breadth was a cubit. It was square, and 2 cubits was its height. Its horns were of 1 piece with it. He overlaid it with pure gold, its top round and its sides and its horns. He made a molding of gold around it, and made 2 rings of gold on it, under its moldings on two opposite sides of it as holders for the poles with which to carry it. And he made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. And he made the holy anointing oil also, and the pure fragrant incense blended as by the perfumer. And then we'll stop there at chapter 37. So 36 and 37 today in Exodus. And then in the book of Matthew, we're going to read chapter 24. And so here's what that says. You have to forgive me if I get exasperated with reading the details of building stuff. I don't know about you, but that I've read it before. It sounds familiar. And we've read it again. God saw fit to put it in there twice. The details of the tabernacle and all the stuff, it comes up throughout the history of Israel. And now you'll be familiar with it for the rest of your days if you've been here all through these bites. But moving right along to the life of Jesus in chapter 24 of Matthew, it says this. Jesus left the temple and was going away when his disciples came to point out to him the buildings of the temple. But he answered them, "Do you see all these?" Right? "Truly I say to you, there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down." Now we just spent hearing about the tabernacle, and these guys are talking about the temple. These are two different things. Around the kingdom of David, people moved out of the tabernacle into a permanent building. And here they are looking at the building. Oh, it's amazing. And Jesus says it's not going to last. Verse 3 continues, "As he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, 'Tell us when these things will be, and what will be the sign of your coming and the close of the age?' And Jesus answered them and said, 'See that no one leads you astray. For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and they will lead many astray. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See to it that you are not alarmed, for this must take place. But the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places, and all these are but the beginning of birth pangs." Right? "Then they will deliver you up to tribulation, and they will put you to death, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another, and many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come." So Jesus has to say in Matthew chapter 24. So, verse 15 of 24 says, "When you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by the prophet Daniel standing in the holy place," let the reader understand, the Bible tells us. "Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let the one who is on the housetop not go down and take what is in his house. Let the one who is in the field not turn back to take his cloak. And alas for women who are pregnant and for those who are nursing infants in those days. Pray that your flight may not be in winter or on a Sabbath, for then there will be great tribulation, such as not been from the beginning of the world until now, and will never be. And if those days had not been cut short, no human being would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short. Then, if anyone says to you, 'Look, here is the Christ,' or 'There he is,' do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders, so as to lead astray, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you beforehand. So if they say to you, 'Look, he's in the wilderness,' do not go out. If they say, 'Look, he's in the inner rooms,' do not believe it. For as lightning comes from the east and shines as far as the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever the corpse is, there the vultures will gather. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then will appear in heaven the sign of the Son of Man. And then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. And we'll stop there at the end of verse 31 today of Matthew chapter 24. God bless you. Thanks for joining us for this wee bite today. We'll see you again tomorrow at 12:30. And take care. We'll see you next time. Bye.